Have you ever seen a magic trick where you're amazed by it, you're fascinated, you want to see it again, you see it again, and unfortunately you figure out the trick? Well, in many ways, that's how Now You See Me 2 feels like to me. As you might guess, Now You See Me 2 is a sequel to Now You See Me. In Now You See Me 2, the Four Horsemen are still in hiding, they're still fugitives of the law, they're taking orders from Mark Ruffalo's character, who in turn is taking orders from the Eye. They do this mission where they perform a show and do a heist and all this sort of good stuff that you'd expect from Now You See Me, only to be uncovered and identified. The Four Horsemen are kidnapped, and now a new villain played by Daniel Radcliffe wants them to perform a heist and steal a computer chip. Things get a little bit more complicated, but that's the gist of Now You See Me 2. I have no problems admitting that I did enjoy the first Now You See Me. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, entertaining. It was a pretty good thriller blast. Now maybe if I saw it again I'd change my mind, but I've only ever saw it once and I had a really fun time watching it. But Now You See Me 2 is really disappointing and pretty sad. Let's start with the positives. The acting overall is good. I think the most standout performance is Daniel Radcliffe because I thought he did a nice blend of being entertaining, fun, and a really good villain. And even though the rest of the cast was mainly good, they did feel like they were just going through the motions and doing the same things they did in the last film, just not as fun and not as charismatic or as entertaining. I think for the most part the film has really great individual scenes. I think the only scene that stands above the rest, the scene that I'll remember the most, the scene that was the most entertaining, was the card trick scene when they're trying to steal the computer chip. It's close to the middle of the film, but it's the most memorable for me and the most entertaining, probably the best scene in the entire film. There are a few other interesting good moments, but for the most part, this movie isn't really as good as the sum of its parts. I think the overall story was good, and I liked how they fleshed out Mark Ruffalo's character, about his past and his father's death, and all that was fleshed out pretty nicely. Unfortunately, I feel there's plenty of bad to this movie. For one, there are two characters I could not stand. For one, we don't have Isla Fisher anymore, instead we have a new fourth horseman. She's played by Leslie Chaplin, and she sort of specializes in fake deaths, sort of, in a way. You know, the magic tricks that involve them looking like they've died. And for most of the movie, she felt like the annoying fangirl. Like the one that is just geeking about the other horsemen and obsessed with them. She was really annoying. In fact, the only time that she didn't feel annoying was about the last act of the film. The last third of the film, around this one moment, she started getting better, and then I was like, okay, I like your character, you're doing good. Why were you so annoying in the first 2/3 of the film? The one character that annoyed me throughout the entire film was a new bad guy. Woody Harrelson's character's twin brother, played by Woody Harrelson. That's right, Woody Harrelson plays two different people. He plays the main person from the first one, and he plays the twin brother of that person. And the evil twin brother, I really don't know what they were thinking. He was annoying, and it wasn't just the character. The acting from Woody Harrelson playing this annoying character was annoying. And the magic tricks in this film, there's very little that actually feel like magic tricks. They just feel like tricks of film editing and film magic. There's plenty of it that feel like, okay, that's not possible at all. How'd they do that? And sometimes when they try to explain some of these impossible feats, they half-ass how they explain it, and they don't do it in a way that actually makes sense. Just as you've all probably seen from the trailer already, how Jesse Eisenberg's character stops the rain itself. Not only does he stop the rain, he reverses it, he pauses it, he slows it down, he makes it go faster, he does all these weird things where he's literally levitating the rain itself. How does he explain how he's able to do it? Strobe lights. Now, I'm not 100% on how strobe lights affect the rain and rain droplets and all that stuff. I did look at a video because I was just curious, and all I could find is how it can make it slow down raindrops by using strobe lights. I haven't found a way how you can make it go backwards, and how you can stop it completely, and how you can make it go faster with strobe lights. I'm not sure if that's even possible. But even if that is possible, how does he fall backwards and turn into frickin' water? Movie magic. Editing. That's how. Now, the last time I saw Now You See Me was when it was in theaters, so maybe there is a lot of magic tricks in that one that are very similar to this, where it doesn't make sense how they're able to do it. But I remember having a fun time with that one and not even paying attention to a lot of that stuff. For this one, it just felt so obvious that so much of it didn't feel like real magic trick at all, and didn't feel like actual magic that you would... It felt like fantasy, complete fantasy. Also, there's some huge inconsistencies with the positions of the characters and even their arm motions when there's cuts to the next part of the scene. First time I noticed this was with Woody Harrelson. There's a moment where his evil twin brother dropped the horseman off, and before the evil twin brother drives away, Woody Harrelson gives him the finger by pretending to wipe his eyes with his middle finger. And then before he puts his arms down, he's like in the process of putting his hands down, it shows an overall shot of them in the driveway of the hotel, in the driving circle. And because he was the last person I saw before the cut happened, my attention immediately went to him when we saw the Four Horsemen from an overview shot, and his arms are completely straight. It's not like his arms are in the process of going down. No, they're completely straight. He's completely standing still. It's almost like this. And his wasn't the only thing that was inconsistent with the editing. There were several times throughout this movie where characters are in a different position, characters' arms are moving in one shot, and then it cuts to them completely standing still and motionless. The last time I saw that kind of inconsistency in a feature-length film was frickin' Ouija, and Ouija had less of it than Now You See Me 2. Ouija is a horrible film I gave 0 stars to, or would if I ever reviewed it. Did I review it? No, I don't think I did. That was the year before I started doing movie reviews. It's not as blaringly obvious as Hot Tub Time Machine 2 when characters are several times getting up off a couch before we see them sitting down. Yeah, do you remember that scene at all? But there's a reason why I compared this film to seeing a magic trick for the second time and discovering the trick. Like magic tricks, these two films go really fast. They have a fast enough pacing where you're trying to keep up, and so you don't really see the trick. It's like sleight of hand in a way, where you don't stop and question, well, what the heck's going on, because you're already in the next scene. For the first film, that worked for me. For the second film, it didn't, because I knew it was going to be fast-paced. I knew a little bit of the trickery from the first film, and so I was able to sort of second-guess it in a way this time. Also, because you know that the first film was going to have a lot of twists and turns, you sort of go into the second film really expecting that and start contemplating, okay, what's the twist, what's going to happen, and unfortunately, most of it became really predictable. So that's another reason why I compare this to seeing a magic trick for the second time. Plus, there's plenty of major twists in this movie that are spoiled in the trailer because you know, okay, if this person's involved, then he's got to be in this movie at some point. And sure enough, there's a big twist where this one villain happens to be in Now You See Me 2, which we already know, and it turns out he's related to another person. Is way too predictable. Because it was already revealed that the person was in it, in the trailers, in the poster, several media things. But another major twist that unfortunately got spoiled because it felt like I was understanding the trickery of this film, the big magic act at the end of the film. I unfortunately figured it out way too soon. Okay, if you don't want it revealed, spoiler alert. Just skip past till you don't see the spoiler down on the bottom of the screen anymore. Or mute it, or whatever you want to do. So this big climax of the film, the Four Horsemen are going to do separate magic shows all across London. The bad guys get a hint of the pattern because they're revealing themselves slowly. The bad guys get ahead of the game and they end up capturing the Four Horsemen. Or Five Horsemen, because there's 5 of them. So they proceed to take off on a private plane, and then once they're high enough, throw the Four Horsemen out of the plane itself. Now, there's 2 things that really stick out in this scene. For one, you think, okay, these are the main guys, these are the main characters, they can't die this easily. There's no way. There's got to be some trick to them surviving this fall. That's one thing. So you already know our main characters are not going to die. 2, when they open the jet, people aren't sucked out of the plane. When an airplane in any other movie where a door opens up, someone shoots and the glass breaks, what happens in any other movie of that type? The cabin depressurizes, masks fall down, sometimes people go frickin' flying out any crevice. It's a whole chaos, it's chaos, it's madness. The whole plane goes down. So what happens when they open the jet door in this film? It gets really windy, but otherwise, no one needs to strap in. No one seems concerned that the door is open and that everyone could go flying out. In fact, Michael Caine's character goes, "Hurry up and close the door, it's chilly, it's getting windy." You should be buckled in, old man. Sorry. Respects Michael Caine. But your character should be buckled in, should be worried about hanging on for dear life. None of that happens. You know why? Because the plane's not really in the air, and that's pretty clear. If you know anything from other movies having things happen like that. Yeah, it turns out it's just big fans that's blowing all that wind. They don't fall to their deaths because the plane's not in the air. The plane was on the ground the whole time, and unfortunately I figured that out because something's off about them not having to hold on when that door opens. Like all the villains are just laughing, having a good time, seated, most of them. In fact, Woody Harrelson's evil twin is just standing there right in front of the door, not holding on to anything, just casually kicking the Four Horsemen out of the plane. None of these bad guys seem the least bit concerned about any of this. So yeah, done with the spoilers. I did like the last speech of the movie. I did like that the beginning speech was also the end speech, and there was a whole thing about perception. I really liked how that went about. However, most of the movie was just sort of boring. It just felt like it was done before. I didn't really feel like there was any stakes that I felt for the characters. I don't know, I didn't really much care for it, but I can watch it one time and be fine with it. So I'm going to give Now You See Me 2 2 stars. So did you see Now You See Me 2? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015 and 2016. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.